think we're about to begin. So good morning, first of all, and welcome to Seattle and the Bill Melinda Gates Foundation. I'm Rajesh Mirchandani. I'm normally a BBC News correspondent and anchor. Today I'm going to be the moderator for the day, so I'd like to thank you all for having me and say thank you for coming as well. We're also going to welcome those who are watching us online. We're going to be webcasting. I think, have we started webcasting? Are we live now? Yep. We are live for people who can't make it here. And also the webcast will be archived for 30 days after this. So if you miss anything, you can go back and take a look at it. We're going to be tweeting. Robin over here is going to be keeping an eye on the tweets. The hashtag is digital strategy. And for some of you who got in yesterday and were able to join us last night, you'll know that today actually started last night with a screening of the film Connected here at the Foundation. And we should say thank you to Tiffany Schlane for making a copy available to us for that occasion. That film sets up the day very well, in fact, because this event is all about collaboration, about working together and learning from each other to achieve the maximum impact in your work. So we encourage you to get to know each other throughout the day, talk to each other, stay in touch after the event as well. The Foundation will be sending out everyone's contact details once today is over. So this event is called the Digital and Audience Convening, and looks at not just the importance of content, getting your core message right, but also how to use digital tools to target that core message at all your different constituencies. And not just that, how do you get those people to become actively engaged in what you do and stay actively engaged? And how do you measure if you're having an impact at all and what impact you're having? These are the crucial questions I think we're going to be trying to address throughout today. Now, in the room, we have a great variety of people from across the spectrum of the non-profit world. We have representatives from the major international organizations like the UN Foundation, UNICEF, the Global Fund, the World Bank, Gavi Alliance. We have people from large international NGOs, Greenpeace, Oxfam, Save the Children, the One Campaign, Mercy Corps, to name just a few. We have issue-specific groups working against malaria, in favor of reproductive rights, education, nutrition, global health, and some groups who are right at home here in Seattle tackling Washington State's particular problems. We're also very glad to have in the room with us the expertise of firms who work solely in the digital space. For example, Tomorrow Partners, who design Sparkwise, which is open source software that uses attractive visuals to make sense of your data. Zynga are here, I believe. They're a growing Silicon Valley force and one of the leading social games companies. And also we have Ushahidi, who make open source software as well that helps you gather and present data. They have a very different perspective from most of you, but one I think that could be very useful in our discussions throughout the day. Now, because there's such a diverse group, today cannot just be about the specifics of your sector. It's more about the tools and the strategies and the cross-cutting approaches that you use, and that's why it's such important that it's a collaborative effort. It's also not about passively consuming what others say, so don't just sit there and think no one's going to call on you. We want you to speak up, ask questions, and offer your advice, offer your opinions, share your problems and your successes. I think Maya Angelou once said, when you get, give, when you learn, teach, and that's what today is roughly about. So a little bit of housekeeping, first of all. Early on in the day, in a few minutes, we're going to be hearing some case studies from different organizations about their digital strategies, and you'll have a chance to ask some questions of those people too. After a short coffee break in the morning, we'll be hearing from more digital practitioners in our panel discussion called Seeking Success in a Digital Campaign. And then over lunch, the conversations are going to carry on. You can't just sit there with your egg roll and your cup of soup. You've got to actually think while you're eating. We're going to have tables hosted by members of the foundation around certain themes. So pick a theme, we'll introduce them later, and then get thinking over lunch. Then after lunch, we're going to have 2 sessions hosted by foundation members looking at specific issues. Firstly, managing risk and reputation online. And we're going to be hearing from Heather Holdridge of the Planned Parenthood Federation of America on that. And then after that, a session on metrics and measurement with Megan Weintraub of Oxfam International and Sebastian Majewski of UNICEF. 2 very important issues that I think you'll all agree will be very interesting. And then later on in the afternoon, you'll be able to put everything you've heard and learned to use in a practical exercise, which I'm not allowed to tell you anything about, but will be very, very interesting indeed. So before I introduce Kate James, let me just remind you of a couple of things that I think will underpin the events of today. The first one is something called Moore's Law. Now, does anybody know what that is? Do you all know what that is? Wow, okay, bear with me. I've just come from doing a master's degree in public diplomacy. I'm a bit of a theory nerd at the moment. So Moore's Law is named after the co-founder of Intel, Gordon Moore. And in the 1960s, Gordon Moore noticed that the number of transistors that could fit on an integrated circuit board was doubling every 2 years. What that means is that mankind's computing capacity was doubling every 2 years. And Moore's law has remained remarkably consistent. It's actually down to about 18 months. The point is that technology is growing exponentially. So everyone in this room needs to be aware of that and remain flexible so that you can keep up with the pace of change. What we're talking about today in 2 years will seem like, well, obviously everyone knows that by then. And then also the other thing is I want to quote from Manuel Castells, who is the third most quoted academic in the world. He's an expert in network theory. He tells us that networks constitute the fundamental pattern of life, all kinds of life. And he reminds us that the historical record shows the pervasiveness and relevance of networks as the backbone of societies. Now, why is this important to today? Well, for 2 reasons. Firstly, networks, growing networks, is really what all of you are trying to do, using digital tools to build social movements and communities that will support your work in a sustained way. You're trying to do that to raise money, to discover new ideas and strengthen your advocacy efforts. It's called bottom-up public diplomacy. But networks also allow greater communication among people and an exchange of ideas. And from that exchange of ideas, as we know, innovation comes. And that's really what today is about, creating a network of all of you to collaborate and create more ideas as we go forward. So not just today, but in the future as well. So you are also a network, and we hope that you can build on your own expertise to come up with even greater solutions in the future. So without further ado, let me introduce now the Foundation's Chief Communications Officer, Kate James, to kick us off today. Thank you.
Wow, Rajesh, I think that's quite a tour de force. I'm not so sure there's much more I need to say, so I think I'll just leave, actually. Anyway, but no, I'd really like to, firstly, to welcome everyone. This is our first digital and audience convening, so it's fantastic to have support from so many partners, so many people from within the Foundation, and I'm really excited about the discussion that we're going to have today. And great also to think that hopefully we've also got a number of people following us on the webcast. But a particular thank you, I think, to see so many of our partners here. And there's one man standing in front of me that I want to give a special thank you to Aaron Sherinian of UNF, because last week we had the Social Good Summit. Social Good Summit was set up in 2010 by UNF and others with the aim of really extending the development conversations that had largely happened behind doors during UN General Assembly Week to a broader online community. Fast forward 2 years on, Moore's law very much coming to the fore, and we had the opportunity to take the Social Good Summit a step further. And so we extended it beyond New York to Beijing, to Nairobi, and thanks to partners like Mashable and Ericsson, we were able to take it to more than 100 countries with smaller meetups. And the aim was to bring technology and innovative thinking to some of the big development challenges. And it just really strikes you just how much has happened in the last 2 years and how the digital opportunity has just expanded exponentially. You know, I think about our own challenges at the Foundation. 3 years ago, and I'm looking at Jen Hausman at this moment, and it's shameful, I realize now to confess, we didn't even have a blog. We were totally reliant on the website. And we're now revisiting our website. And you know, what you look at it is it's a monolith. You know, then when we created it, it was really our main interface with all our stakeholders. And it was trying to sort of really deliver the impossible, be user-friendly and relevant to all our different audiences. Today, of course, we now have multiple channels, and the website still has an important role to play, but it can play a much more specific role. And I think this really sort of, for me, highlights one of the big, you know, what I hope will be big central themes of today, the importance of really understanding your audience, knowing how does your audience consume communication, what channels do you use, what messages really resonate. So for us on the website, and I think we have a sneak preview of our new site, the key thing here is if you look up at the headings, it's all about our grantees. It's all about a lot of you. It's about partners. We've been really clear in that what we want to use the website for is really to provide the information, the resource that our grantees need. and a little bit also focused on our job seekers, because we know that's still where most of our job seekers come to when they're looking for opportunities within the foundation. That's a very different approach. You know, the language, the content, the whole experience, hopefully, should be very much geared to what our partners are looking for. So, the other thing I think I'd say as well is, which is from a budget play, is always a good one. You know, we had to sort of completely take this down. We're rebuilding it. It was a big old investment. Never again will we have this big investment. I mean, you know, to what Rajesh was saying, this is such a dynamic environment. You have to be able to continually iterate, to be able to just make small, continuous investments, rather than these sort of big relaunches, big investments. So hopefully, I'm looking at Kathleen Goodman, who's the champion for this project, the last time we make an investment of this scale. So, you know, one of the things I was so excited about with the conversation today is we are spending a lot of time here thinking about the opportunity with digital, with the digital channels and tools that we have, really thinking about how do we use that to maximize impact in support of all the programmatic work we do. How do we think about it in terms of, as Rajesh said, building communities, sustaining conversation? So in the hope that this sort of starts the ball rolling, that we're going to be sharing lots of examples today of innovation, of best practice in the spirit of collaboration, let me talk about 2 ways that we at the Foundation are thinking about how do you sustain conversation? How do you hopefully build communities that are engaged around issues, not just for weeks or months, but for years to come? Because most of the issues we work on aren't issues that are solved overnight. They're issues that take years, in some cases perhaps even a lifetime, to resolve. So, 2 ways that we're thinking about this. 1, the crowdsourcing of ideas. How do you continually refresh the conversation? How do you bring new ideas, new perspectives into the conversation? One initiative that many of you in the room will be familiar with, which I really like, is the Foundation's Grand Challenges Explorations. For those of you who aren't familiar with it, this is when we throw out a call to action around a big challenge and ask for ideas as to how to solve that challenge. And the beauty of it is you submit 2 sides with your idea. If you're successful, a grant of $100,000 is awarded. If the idea gets traction, then there are more grants available. So this time, for the first time earlier in the year, we decided to have a Grand Challenges Communications. In a tough global economic environment where it's becoming harder and harder to convince people that making allocations of funding for ODA, then it's even more important to be showing that aid works and sharing the stories of success. So we launched a Grand Challenges, asking people for ideas as to how to share stories of success around aid. We were overwhelmed. We had more than 1,000 submissions across 85 countries. And as a result of that, we launched another challenge, again about aid, just a couple of weeks ago. This time, looking for ideas about how do you use mobile technology to, 1, to share stories, but also to encourage collaboration, and hopefully encourage collaboration that leads to action. And the second part of the challenge, back to the fact that we're looking to sustain conversations for years to come, was how did we encourage and engage a youth audience? So, just one way of hopefully bringing more ideas, and as more ideas come into the conversation, hopefully becoming a virtuous circle of an innovative, sustainable conversation. Second idea I wanted to talk about this morning is something that with a partner, Women Deliver, we're launching later this month, is how do you build that emotional connection between people and the work and the people on the ground? And Catapult is a crowdfunding platform for projects relating to women and girls. So let me show you a little bit of the video, which I think articulates it much better than I could, the idea. about that project is that, firstly, you get the opportunity to identify a project you relate to. Then you adopt the project. You give a little bit of money. That helps deepen that engagement. And then you're encouraged to bring friends in. So suddenly it's a team event. It's a bit of a competition in there, which again is deepening that engagement. And then what Catapult does is gives you the opportunity to be able to follow that project all the way through to completion, sustaining that emotional engagement with the people on the ground and with the work. So, Catapult, grand challenges, just 2 ideas about how we can realize, I think, what is an incredible digital opportunity today. So what I hope from today is that there'll be lots of opportunity to share so many of the ideas and the innovations that we're seeing all around this room and which so many of you are driving. You know, I think that if we're to realize the potential of the digital opportunity, it's going to come down to collaboration. There's not one group that's going to be able to seriously realize the potential to use our digital channels and tools for impact. So I'm super excited about today's conversation, both in terms about thinking about the opportunity, but also I think some of the challenges. When you think about, you know, how do we measure? It's very different. You think about issues, and I know there's a panel this afternoon that Joan is leading on reputation risk. It's a whole new approach to risk management. So I think both in terms of looking at the opportunity and thinking about how we really manage effectively this new ecosystem, this is a great start to what I think is a really important conversation and a really important collaboration. So thanks very much for your participation. I'm looking forward to a great day. Thank you.